Hello and welcome to another episode of Business Spotlight. I'm Melanie McKibbin from ActionCOACH, and today I'm so excited to welcome Sophie, the CEO and founder of Metta Leaders. Sophie, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much, Melanie. I'm literally so excited. When you contacted me, I was like, woohoo, I can't wait to get on and chat.
And this isn't the first time we've chatted. We caught up at the end of last year, and I think we took up the whole time just chatting away. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out today.
We did. We went on a lot of tangents, didn't we?
Yeah, but very much on the same page, which is really cool.
Yes, very much.
So tell us, Sophie. Tell us about Sophie. Tell us how you got to where you are today.
Wiggly line, as it often is. The journey is never linear to get towards where you want to go to and following your dreams. So I have a background in sales originally because I didn't really know where I wanted to head and what I wanted to do, but I knew that I loved people and connecting with people. And through working in sales, that actually gave me the understanding that I didn't like selling things to people that they didn't need, but I loved connecting on a deep level and creating that relationship with people. I fell into human resources actually because we moved to a country posting. My husband's a police officer and I needed work, and I fell into HR, and that was about 12 years ago now, and absolutely loved it. It's absolutely my passion, working with people, supporting people and keeping them well. And I realized as I was working through my HR career, which I still work in, that my passion really had niched down into keeping people well, particularly mental health and mentally healthy workplaces. So that's where the idea for my business was birthed. And so Metta Leaders started in 2021. And I've been doing that ever since and loving what I'm doing. So that's my work bit, but I'm also a mum to two small humans, two little boys, who actually just started school today at their new school. And my husband, who is, as I said, a police officer, but he's transitioning out of that now. And so we've just had this massive move to far north Queensland for a new life and new careers and new adventures.
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? We were just talking before your boys' first day today, and we went through this 12 months ago when we made the move from Sydney down here to South Australia, and it's so cool that, I mean, I just had a moment before we jumped on the call because our lives are very similar. You know, we're business women. I'm working 100% in my business right now, but I've been to where you've been, where you're still working in a job which you love, but moving into your own business as well. And it's so awesome that we've been able to create that. And I know for us, like with the pandemic, it's really allowed us to make that transition a lot easier.
It has.
But there's a lot of challenges because we are mums at the same time as being a businesswoman.
Yes, mums, wives, friends, daughters, carers.
We take it all on. It's our superpowers, isn't it?
It is. I feel like they say the struggle is real, but I think the juggle is real. And but it's also about, prioritizing and setting boundaries around what you need to get done within that day, but then also not giving too much in one particular area that you're actually losing out in another area. And I think it's certainly, it's a learning curve when you go into business on your own, but it's certainly that freedom and that flexibility. It's just amazing because I spend more time with my family now than I ever have. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool. Really cool. So business owner, was it always something that you aspired to be? And is your business what you set out for it to be?
Yes and no. So yes, I've always wanted to have my own business because I love freedom and flexibility. I love being creative, and I also like not doing the same thing every day. I've never been able to work in a job that has a huge amount of structure and has the same tasks and all of that every day. I can't, that drives me mental. So I knew that I wanted to have some form of business of my own. And then when I started this business, it was more around one-on-one coaching and mentoring. And as much as I love doing that, my actual passion, I've realized as I have, I guess, developed and grown and tried on my business for fit, is more around organizational well-being through kindness and connection. And so it's morphed over that time. But I think when you start a business, you often try different things until you really find what resonates deeply with you. And I think it's always going to be part of what you set out to create. But I love the fact that when you do have your own business, you can actually switch it up, change it up, do different things, and it's all up to you to make those changes, and you can really dive into what you want to create and what you want to put out into the world. So yes, I have always wanted to work for myself, but I also love working for other people. And so that's why I kind of keep my HR consulting on the side as well. So I do a hybrid form of work, really. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's awesome you can do that. So who are your ideal clients? Who do you work with mostly, and how do you help them?
So ideal clients are, because I come from an aged care background, and my hubby, having worked in policing for, 16 years, my passion is for helping people who help other people. So businesses or leaders who are taking care of other people. So first responders, aged care, healthcare workers, childcare, disability, particularly my real passion lies with people who take care of other people who are vulnerable. So that really lights me up, because those kinds of people are giving so much at work, and then often not having enough in their tank to give to themselves, but also to then give to the people at home who matter to them as well. So that's my real passion. And so I'm actually working with a speech pathology client this week. I'm flying back to Adelaide for that, to do a wellbeing workshop and then plan out their yearly program with them. But really, for me, it's about helping the people who help other people, and just giving them the tools and the space, because we often don't give ourselves the space to think about what we need for a mental health and wellbeing perspective. But then also from an organizational perspective, what an organization can do to support their workers to create a workplace that people want to work in, to attract and retain the right people to work for them, and to stop people burning out.
Yeah. Do you find that those types of people don't know how to look after themselves?
For sure. I think they know how to, but do they do it? Not often. And so they're often really good at give to other people, and then collapse in a heap and go, oh, how annoying. I should have actually taken a break back here, but I'm down here and I'm too far and I've collapsed in a heap. So the process that I take people through is, how do we red flag those moments of, I'm not feeling like I can do this, and this, but perhaps I can do this, and set a real strong boundary, energetically and physically often, around what they can and can't continue to do. And then changing those habits and behaviors around that self-kindness and that self-care. And then workplaces also taking responsibility for creating that within the workplace. So, rosters that work appropriately for staffing, to make sure that they can have a balance, or a better balance. Support within the workplace from, leaders and other people within the workplace, or external providers. So yeah, it's a process, but I think often they know what to do, because they're caring, empathetic, understanding humans. So they know what they need to do, but do they do it? Probably not.
Yeah, the roster thing, that's a really interesting thing you bring up. It just brings back a memory. Like, you're exactly right. Like, as a leader, in a business where you are taking care of rosters, a lot of the time the human element can be missed, and it's all about we need to fit we need to fill what the business needs are.
Yes.
And it is such an important part to be taking care of the needs of those people that are going to fill those spots as well. I remember when I went over to Christchurch as a Christchurch airport manager for one of the car rental companies I worked for, the roster that they had, these guys very rarely had a full weekend off.
No.
And I went there and went, what on earth? And they were doing half shifts and this and that. And very first thing I did was I changed them actually. They were working 10-hour days.
Oh my gosh.
They then got, they then got 3 days off. And every
so you clumped them together so that they could then have a longer break. Oh, yeah.
Because they were coming in doing half days and things, and it was just like to get their 40 hours. And it was like, that's not good for anybody. And it was quite interesting. They loved it, obviously. They had every second weekend off. And every second one of those was a long weekend.
Oh, beautiful.
But the morale from the team and it changed the dynamic of the business as well. And years later, they were still using that roster.
Do you think, and I love having these discussions because it's almost like I feel like a lot of businesses keep doing the same thing that they've always done because we've always done it that way. And it's almost like it takes, and often people, often businesses will promote internally, which I love. I think it's great to support the people that work within the business, but often it takes bringing in an external person into the business to have that fresh set of eyes, like you going in there and going, well, why? Why are we doing it that way? This doesn't make sense. Maybe could we? And look, it doesn't always work when you make changes, and change is often, that's a whole another topic for discussion, like within businesses. But, just because you've done it one way doesn't mean you have to always do it that way. And just because you change it doesn't mean it has to stay that way either. So I think it's about bringing that flexibility in to kind of go, right, what do we need? What are the humans within the business? What are the needs of the business, from a productivity, profit perspective, and also from a rostering perspective? What do we need? We might be 24/7. So of course we need people who are willing to do night shift, but do we give them, a few nights of night shift and then give them a proper break and then put them back on, a couple of day shifts, or do they prefer night shift? And so it's about opening that dialogue. So I love that you did that, because that's bringing the human into the workplace and into the workflow of what do our people need, what does our business need, and how can we try and balance the needs of both to be productive and profitable, but also keep our people well in the process.
Exactly. And you know what, you're exactly right. It's having those. I'm a real big one for communication. It's probably the number one key in life.
I was about to say, in life in general, isn't it?
Yeah, it's communication. And you touch on something there then, you've got morning shifts, you've got afternoon shifts, you've got day shifts. There are people that want just night shifts. So if that works for them, then put them onto that and let the people that, it doesn't have to be a, revolving. No. It's what works for your workplace, for your team and your people. Yeah. And I also love something that we work with our clients is when we are implementing any strategies, any changes, anything that we're working on, we always test and measure. Implement it, test it, measure it. What's working? What's not? Let's change it again. Change is always good for the soul.
I think it is. And I think as long as you're doing change with consultation,
correct.
It's when businesses we're going to bring these changes in, and they haven't actually consulted with the people that the change is going to potentially affect. That's when you start to get into some difficulties, because people will be like, well, hang on a sec, I haven't had a discussion about this. I don't even know. I don't feel comfortable with this. And look, change is uncomfortable. There's so many change managers out there. It's becoming such a huge area of need within businesses, because through COVID, obviously there were so many changes that needed to be implemented quickly. I think a lot of businesses realized, right, we need people to support us on this change management journey. And so the HR work that I do when I'm consulting for the company that I work for in Adelaide, they specialize in change management, because you can't just kind of come in and go, these are all the changes, this is amazing, it's going to be great, can't wait. Because people will be like, hang on a sec, whoa, like we haven't even talked about this. However, with that consultation, the change might not be still comfortable, but at least people are prepped and prepared about what may come on the journey, and also what the benefits of the outcomes are likely to be as well. But they've been consulted. And I think I love that communication, consultation, dialogue. It's just so important.
So important. So talking about change, we've already touched on it. You've made a massive change moving from South Australia up to far north Queensland. You've almost couldn't go any further in the country. I don't
know. There's literally nowhere. I feel like Cape York is probably.
So tell me about that transition and what throughout, because I know from firsthand the challenges involved in transitioning into a move like that. What are some things that you did to make sure that you put yourself first and you looked after yourself during the transition?
Yeah, look, I wasn't perfect at it, if I'm honest. You know, none of us are perfect, and you get thrown curveballs and you think, oh, hang on a sec, I didn't even factor that in. I had no idea that that's what it was going to feel like. So we always knew that we wanted to move to a warmer climate. And so, because I'm from South Australia, love South Australia, and I still work and will continue to always work across the two states because I just like, my family's there, my friends are there. And I love SA, you know. Yeah. It's just an SA thing. I think the state that you come from, I don't think you ever lose that kind of feeling of home.
Yeah.
But for us, we wanted warmth and constant warmth. So my husband and I had this discussion a while back around what are some of the things we can see, because I'm 43, he's 53. And at the time we were like, right, we're hitting 40 and 50. What does our future look like? What do we want to get to the end of our life and go, I'm so glad we tried this, or I'm so glad that we were brave enough to do this or go to this place or you know, try this new thing. And both of us were like, right, this is the chance, because I had been in my job for probably six or so years at that time, loved it, like aged care, such a passion for working in aged care. And that's why I'm still, you know, drawn back to it with my consulting, because I can't get enough of it and the people that work within the industry. But at that stage, COVID was starting. And as you know, aged care and healthcare were two of the biggest hit sectors. And so I was very blessed to obviously have kept my job through that time, but the pressure that it put on particularly the frontline workers, but also the leaders within businesses, to lead bravely, courageously through such a huge transition of the unknown. And really it was life and death at the end of it. So you had, how do we keep our home and our residents and our staff safe, or as safe as we possibly can? And so within that process, I saw people kind of burning out and really not coping, myself included, to be honest, because being in human resources, you have to make sure that you're taking care of the people. And so there was that extra added load. So I started having the chat with my hubby and saying, I'm not sure if this is for me long term, because I was certainly not living my best life when I was at home. And at the same time, my husband was starting to think about, do I want to be policing, you know, for the rest of my life? There's a lot of trauma attached to it. And both our work jobs, being caregiver jobs, and careers, were starting to affect us mentally and physically. So we both started thinking, right, what does this look like going forward? And so we started to then map out, well, what could it look like? We want to go north, where could we go? So we first started looking at the Sunshine Coast, and then we kept getting drawn back up to Cairns and Port Douglas and the tropics. And in the end, we kind of just went, oh, well, we'll put our house on the market. So at the beginning of last year, or end of the year before, we've got our house ready for sale, sold our house within the space of a weekend, which was crazy. Like, we had our first open, and then, because that was at the height of when everyone was just going crazy for buying houses. And then literally we had no house, and we went, okay, thanks universe. I feel like this decision's going to come quicker than anticipated. And then we moved in with my mum on her farm. So we kind of did the sequential changes of how do we make these huge life changes? Because when you look at it from the outset, you kind of go, SA to far north Queensland, that's massive. Like, what are the steps to get from there to here? But when I think about the steps that we actually took, which were the smaller incremental, like still big decisions, like selling your home of 11 years that you've just finished renovating, is certainly like not a that you love, is certainly not a small decision. No. But following that gut instinct of this is the right thing, it might feel uncomfortable, it might feel really difficult and scary, but we're still, you know, what's the end game? Where do we want to reach? You know, and we didn't really have a timeline, but things sort of sped up. And I love the fact that when you make a decision, often the universe will then come in to support that, and it comes in a lot quicker than you often anticipate. So literally within a couple of months, my husband threw his hat in a ring for a job, and he was so funny. He goes, I won't get it. And I was like, I bet you get this job. And we'd been looking on, as I said, on the Sunshine Coast, and then looking up here in Far North Queensland. And I said to him, well, you know that I'm not ready to go, because I knew the kids needed to see out the rest of the school year. And he goes, yep, no worries, I won't get it anyway. Anyway, got the job. And so then we kind of had to have the discussion about, well, I'm not ready to go, the kids are not ready to go. And so he came up here on his own. So we did 6 months separate, which, when I think about it now, maybe wasn't the strongest decision, but I felt like at the time it was the best decision for the kids, and for my work to kind of put things in process to then have a plan when we moved up here for what I could do, and also to get the kids into school and have them starting at the beginning of the school year. So yeah, look, it's a process, it's a big move, as you know, you've done it, and it's not just yourself that you're thinking about when you're a parent.
Yeah,
you know, you want to think about the kids, and you want to think about you're taking them away from their friends, their family, all the things that they know. And so the fear of the unknown is not that you're carrying, it's not just your own, it's that of your family. But the way that we got through that was to schedule regular visits up to my husband. So we were traveling backwards and forwards, he was traveling backwards and forwards to us. So really, I think the longest we were apart was like 4 weeks. And so that was really a boundary that I set. I said, look, we're not going to do this without regular touch points. I don't think it's good for us, and I don't think it's good for the kids. So yeah, that was kind of the process. And then we moved up, and it was very serendipitous because the best flights actually were on my birthday. So we flew out on my birthday in December. So it was the best birthday present ever. And we all got on the plane, and and our kids are like, woohoo, happy birthday. And I was like, happy birthday to me. New life. So, you know, really the process of change and the process of being brave and the process of stepping into something unknown is scary. But it's less scary when you know that the outcome is something that feels so right in your gut that you want to try it. And also understanding that if it doesn't work out, that's okay. And you can change. You can do something else. Or you can come back, or you know.
It's so interesting how similar our stories are, because we had a very similar situation with my husband. He's worked for the same company for over 20 years. And so it was kind of like, how do we, you know, he could so do his job remotely, but how do we convince his company that he can? And randomly we had decided that's it. We are 100% doing it in January 2021. What year?
Last year? 2023 now. Yeah, I'm confused. Don't worry. I haven't.
We're definitely going to be there. And in about the September, they advertised for a salesperson down here because the person was going to retire. And so he's gone, well, I'll do that. So he basically went to his company and said, well, we're moving down there. Mel's moving for a business, blah, 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 blah. And as it turns out, he's so valued in the role that he currently was in that they said at the last minute, you can actually keep the job you're doing. And he's literally just moved his business. But you're exactly right. And I've got this saying, and I want to get this up on the wall somewhere, is we live where we choose to live, because I know so many people who are living a life because they feel like it's kind of what the cards have dealt them. They're not, I know I have friends who tell me this, they're not happy where they're at, but you know, their parents are there, or, you know, I've moved away from my whole family, but I'm back every 3 months. I go back for my skin checks, but it's an opportunity to see my family and encourage them to come and see us, and you make it work. You do. I just love that. I love that, because that's exactly, I was just listening to someone this morning, and she said, you know, people say to her, you're so lucky to live where you live up here in Far North Queensland. She goes, I'm not lucky. You create your own luck. Like you can manifest whatever you want to do, but you need to actually physically take the steps to put them in process, and you need to be brave. You need to be willing to make those changes. You know, I'm an only child, and I said to my parents, I'm like, and my parents are aging, and I said, if I don't do this now, you know, I've lived in Adelaide or South Australia for my entire life.
if I don't choose to be brave and make this change and try it, I'm going to regret it forever.
Yep.
And was it easy leaving my parents? No. Am I seeing them this week when I go back? Yes. Am I back in April with the kids for school holidays? Yes. You know, you make it work.
Yeah.
You really can.
Yeah. And it is. It's, you know, it's tears every time I drop my mum at the airport, which I did Sunday week ago. You know, and my kids, you know, and it is. But I think that also makes us who we are. And builds a little bit of resistance, and it shows, you know, that we care. But we also, it's really important, I think, to be really thankful and recognize that things that you're thankful for. We often now, after a hot day, in fact, it's meant to be warm tomorrow, so I've even got it on the meal planner in brackets beach. So
I love that.
Cool. Is this a dinner we can take to the beach after work?
Yes.
Do we go to the beach after we have dinner? But almost every time my husband and I are like, oh, I'm so glad we made this move. This is so awesome, as we're driving, you know, home from the beach. And it's just,
I love that. I love that. And actually, even our kids have said, because we've got a pool here, because that was the other non-negotiable. I said to my husband, so we're moving, there's air conditioning and a pool. Like, I literally can't, I can't, because I it's too hot. And I melt. But, you know, the kids have even said that we were sitting around the pool. What's today? Monday. We're sitting around the pool on Saturday afternoon. It was blue skies. It was warm. It was beautiful. Kids were jumping in and out. We had music playing. It was just us four hanging out. And the kids said, oh, Mummy, we feel like we're living in a resort. Oh. And I was like, yes, we created this.
Yeah.
We've come here. We've chosen to be here. But then being so grateful and so thankful that we have got the opportunity, and the right opportunities have, you know, aligned and dropped in when we've needed them to create what we've created. So I love that. Having gratitude is so important, isn't it?
So important. So back to business. But you know, it's interesting the way our conversation's gone, because, you know, our personal lives and our business lives intertwine, and it's really important that we recognize our goals and understand what we want personally, and then our business is a vehicle to actually help us to get to that.
Yes, completely agree.
As a business owner, what has been your biggest learning, do you think, since starting your business?
Oh, surround yourself with the right people.
For
me, I mean, connection's one of my core values, but I just know that I would not be where I am without a really strong community, particularly of female business owners, and female business owners who have done it before. Because why struggle through on your own? I'm actually getting full body goosebumps about this, because it's so, like, I just think it's so important. And if there is one thing that, if you and I, what comes out of today, it's like community and like-hearted and like-minded people who are there to pick you up when you're struggling, because there's going to be so many tough days where you go, really, why am I doing this? Like, this is so hard. And there'll be other days when you go, yes, like, this is amazing. This is the best thing ever. And you want to celebrate with people. When you've got a strong community, or you've got, you know, mentors and coaches. I mean, I've spent thousands on mentors and coaches, and I would do it all over again, and I will continue to do it through my whole rest of my life and my career, because those people have done it before. They're there to help you, and they want to see you succeed. So why wouldn't you be with the people who want to see you succeed and who want to help you succeed? And if you have to pay for that, that's just part of it, because you're paying for all the things that they've learned on their journey. So for me, that's been the biggest learning curve, is making sure that when, you know, I need help, or when I don't understand something, or I need some new part, like for me, tech is, you know, it's been a steep learning curve of even how to update the back end of my website and that kind of thing. You know, I was even doing a bit of that last week, and I was going, oh, this is so hard. And I, you know, so then I just messaged someone and said, oh my gosh, can you please like help me with this part of it? Because I literally have no idea what I'm doing. But it's those people that you can call on, and they go, sure, no worries. And they don't have to be paid people. They can be just business associates that you meet. You know, there are so many people that are willing to help you and say yes and support you and cheer you on. You just need to be open to being able to ask for it and being grateful, but then also be willing to give back. when other people need stuff from you. So that for me has been the biggest thing, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So off the back of that, if you could go back in time, what's the one piece of advice you'd actually give yourself when you were first starting out in business?
Oh, that's a really good question. I like that one.
It's my favorite. I'm sorry, I didn't give you the heads up about that.
I love it. No, I love the no. You know what? I did say let's wing it. This is great.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
For me, for me, the biggest piece of advice would be keep going and keep believing in your dream and stop doubting yourself so much, because the deep knowing of what you're here to create is needed, and you can do it.
Love it. I love it. Oh, yep. We are on holidays here as we're recording.
No, that's fine. It's all good. School holidays.
You don't mind my washing in the background. Yeah. You know what? That's what it is like working from home. It's in
a basket. Mine's actually hanging on a clothes horse here. So absolutely no judgment. It's called being a working mum.
Hang on. Well, lucky we've come to the end of our call, so perfect timing.
I love it. I think there's nothing better than the humanness of all this. It's the best.
I know. It's really, and you know what? It's back to what we've talked about a lot on this call today, is how we're choosing to live our lives. And exactly. To have a job that my kids can be home on school holidays. And not, they have their few days at OSH because it's good for all of us.
I agree. I think there is a good balance of that. But look at the role modeling that you're doing for your kids, though, Mel. Like, this is amazing. You're literally showing your kids you can have it all.
Yeah.
You just need to engineer it and create what you want to create that helps you have it all. And it might not be traditional. I love it. It's the best. I'm just lucky that mine are at school, because mine would be exactly the same. Or they'd be sucking, icy poles in the background, or
we've already had one.
Wanting snacks.
Yeah, absolutely. Sophie, thank you so much for your time today. I always love talking with you, and I'm so glad that we've been able to connect. And thank you. I'm sure there's many business women and businessmen even that will take something away from your story. So thank you so much.
Oh, so kind. Thanks, Mel. It's just been lovely chatting. I just feel like it's so easeful when we chat. So I really appreciate the time. And I'm also really grateful that you asked me to come and have a chat to you, because it's great.
Yeah, my pleasure. On that, thank you.